I think one of the very first thing that I would like to share is psychology is not learned in classroom. Though here we are sitting in a classroom setting. Psychology is learned by studying yourself. You have to become a student of your own self. It's studying oneself and studying nature in all its vastness. Books cannot capture all the shades of ourself, who we are and what nature is, how it operates. And even if they do, sometimes it will always remain incomplete, something not well understood unless you really live out the truths. If it is true of whatever psychology, Western, Eastern, we read through, it is much more true about Indian psychology. Let's say a simple term like soul. It's a term uniquely used in Indian psychology. Normally, when we use the word soul in psychology departments, like in psychiatry, when I went for psychiatry, my professor asked me, why do you want to come for psychiatry? You have all the marks. You can take up general medicine, surgery, anything. So I said, because I'm interested in understanding things from a yoga perspective. And he said, yoga, don't mention that in the department. Just imagine the situation. If you say soul, sir, mujhe soul ke baare mein bataiye. What do you think will be the reaction of all the... Sunit is an exception. Let's not talk about him. But general reaction will be either many will just brush it aside. They'll say, all this dimag tumhara chal gaya hai. Or some will explain it, soul is a part of the mind. That's the maximum. Or some will say, it's an activity of the brain. And some may say, well, your glands have gone crazy. So you are hallucinating something called a soul. At the end of the day, it doesn't exist or is a portion of the mind. And that's all. Then you speak of the divine. तो वो तो फिर तुम मंदिर जाओ, go to some ashram, go to some monastery, but don't talk about all these things in psychology. But just think about it this way, that supposing you have in your house a most priceless treasure buried somewhere, and if you ask where is it, so you are given vague answers, so now search for it elsewhere. And there are people who have seen the treasure and they tell you, no, it's there, you search it, it's there, right there. Now if you don't search it, and live always asking for things outside, then is that a very pleasant situation? It's not. Take a very simple example. We all seek joy in life, isn't it? It's a basic thing. We all seek peace, harmony, love. All these are fundamental needs of every human being. Knowledge, wisdom, we all seek it. And if we were to know that there is a state of consciousness, there is a possibility of touching something within us where knowledge, love, peace, harmony, joy and all the rest is a spontaneous state, states of consciousness. If you touch that, it's natural, it becomes natural to you. Would you not try that it's worth it? Isn't it? If there is something like that and I don't know it, then I am leading half my existence. Since Sunit Bhai mentioned about my journey, I can share with you when I was maybe now, some of you may be around 18 or something, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, okay. So around 18 when I was in medical college, Armed Forces Medical College, I used to think like this, that we are taught that we are just a body and some chemicals, possibly some mind which is nothing but a brain activity. But I have also grown up knowing that there is a soul and there is the divine. Now, if I am only this, then what is the sense in life? Might as well take a joint from, Pune, FMC Pune. There are a lot of joint, I don't want to tell you what a joint is. Hashish and things like that. You go there and take it and just be happy. what's the big deal? Why am I doing all this? And if there is something like the soul and the divine and I don't discover it, then I am living like a beggar when I have priceless treasures inside me. This was my angst. So I said, see, let's try it this way. That if there is nothing more to life than this, and if I search for soul and divine, and I find nothing, then anyways there was nothing to it. You get the logic? And if there is something and I don't make an effort and don't discover it, then my God, I have lost something most precious. So that was the logic with which I started. And as one goes deeper and deeper, then one discovers, my God, this is the most priceless gift and treasure house. Now it's 18, now I'll be 58 this year, so you can imagine almost 40 years. This is the most priceless treasure. And one after another you discover it. And then you realize that why is it not only not taught, we don't even value it, we don't even know that it's there. And if we make even a fraction of the discovery, let alone the full discovery, it changes our life. It changes our perspective. Let me give some examples. You see, there is normally a perspective that if there is something which somebody insults you, isn't it? You feel hurt. It's a very commonplace thing. And we all try, hurt nahi ho. Then you go to a person, he'll say, you know what, try to get over it, let go, and or somebody will counsel you and you should get rid of this hurt, insults, you should not carry it, various ways. Somebody will tell you think positively. So क्या होता है उसके बाद आप अगर if you are really sincere, you will say, yes, I know that I have to think positively. How do I think positively? How do I let go? I am not able to do it. Have you faced this problem? You know what is to be done, but you can't do it. Have you wondered why you can't do it? Why is it that in certain states you can do certain things and there are certain states when you can't do certain things? Have you experienced this? Why does it happen? Have you raised this question? Should raise this question. Everybody knows that we should think positively. No news how to do it. So when you go to Indian psychology, first thing you will learn is that the essential truth, first truth that we have to capture is that there are many, many, many states of consciousness which are embedded within us. Some of those which have been part of our evolutionary past, and some of those which are part of our evolutionary future. This teleological aspect of psychology, we don't talk about. We talk about normalcy. We don't talk about supernormalcy. Isn't it? What we can become, what we are today, we all know. We have certain reactions which are embedded, which we have carried over as an evolutionary drag. So, when we interact with people, if somebody hurts me, my first reaction is anger, rage, sometimes speech which will end up hurting someone. Why? Because that's my evolutionary past. It's also embedded. But there is another possibility embedded within me, which I have not explored. I have not cared to enter into that room. Now, the beauty of this science is that when you learn to enter another room, you suddenly find that your thinking, your feeling, everything has changed. Even if you want, you cannot bring in that state. There is a small little story of Buddha that someone met him and he didn't believe in any of Buddha's doctrine and he shouted at him, insulted him, abused him, spat there and went away in a huff. Buddha said nothing. Not only he said nothing, he felt nothing. More important. Many times we don't say, but we carry a storm inside. So that night, there is a power of immobility, because when you are immobile, things get reflected back. So that night, suddenly he was in turmoil. Normally what happens when you abuse someone, again, if you get it back, then the storm is building up. But supposing somebody, I'm not saying you don't react, but inside if you are free, if you are quiet, if you are immobile, not outwardly, then it has its own power. It's like things get reflected back to you. So, he just reflected back. And by the way, it's a very interesting technique in psychology, which as counselor you will learn. If you learn to become immobile and person is revealing his life story, it gets reflected back. You don't say anything, but the person begins to look at it in a new light. It's reflected back. Otherwise, we all are constantly living in our own jungle. So he felt very bad, and next day he came and told Buddha, I am very sorry for what I said and what I did. So Buddha asked him, who are you? He said, I am the person who had come yesterday, who had been very angry, and who spat at you. And so he says, oh, are you? Are you the same person? He said, yes. He said, but you are not the same person. He said, but I am the same person. He said, if you are the same person, show me how you got angry. This is an absurd question. He says, I can't get angry like that. So he says, then what happened yesterday? He said, I just reacted to things which are going on inside my head. So he said, oh, you reacted. So that reaction is not you. How do you know that is your true you, or today what you are is your true I? So one part of psychology, the most important question according to Indian psychology, is first of all to discover who I really am. If I don't know it, all else, because all else is directly or indirectly determined. Supposing I say that I am an animal, this is what we are taught. When I was 7-8 years old, I read in a book in my school, man is a social animal. And somehow that dialogue, that statement struck to my head. I said, my God, I am an animal. No, I am not an animal. I am a human being. Come on, I am not an animal. But it was powerful. No? It comes from a book. Books can have such an impact upon you. And I kept on. I asked people, is it true they have written social animal? So people explained, yeah. Basically we are animal, but we can form social groupings. But it's not true. There is something in us which is other than an animal. But if we keep telling ourselves that I am an animal, so it's quite natural. If I am an animal, if you show claws, I am going to show my teeth. And we are going to snarl at each other, because this self-identification becomes the nodus from where I act. This is the basis of my action. This self-identification is automatic. See, when we are born, we already are given certain identities by parents, by society, and etc. etc. Then all our life we are struggling to be free. Don't we all want? We want freedom and autonomy. But for freedom and autonomy, I must first discover who is this me inside. Who am I really? Otherwise, I'll never be free. Even if I go anywhere, I am still being driven by a host of forces, people, beings, society, religious books, parents, teachers who are speaking within me and using my mouth and mind as their instrument, isn't it? We pick it up. So we start discovering what are the different selves within us. And then we discover what Indian psychology will say, okay, then try to discover what is that greatest, truest, brightest part within us. Now, if I ask this question, I throw up this question, that normally we are leading life and many things are happening every day. If you reflect upon your most beautiful moment, which you think is your highest moment, can you think of, I'm not saying you share it with me, can you think of some moment? All of you? Some moment. Which you can say, yes, that's it. Not as it is given in books, peak experience. We all have, at every age, a certain peak experience. Maybe if you ask a 5-year-old child, what's a peak experience? When I asked for something and my mama instantly gave it. Or without my asking, she made it ready, and for me, mom, how do you know it? Isn't it like that? So we all have certain peak experiences. So what is it within me which is my most luminous possibility, brightest, best, highest within me? So the way which is followed in Indian psychology is very similar to the way which we do in our everyday psychology. If I tell myself that I am an animal, my behaviors, reactions will be naturally like an animal. If I tell myself I am a bundle of instincts, where there is basically two primary instincts, anger and lust, then I have kind of hypnotized myself based on that, and my reactions will be very. So it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. But if I say that I am divine, now I am giving a process, one other process. Now when you may have heard that song, Shivoham, Shivoham. Has anyone heard that? It's a famous Shankaracharya's, yes. Shivoham, Shivoham. What is he saying? Is it true? At one level we may say, I don't know. But if you take it, that's how the mantra works. You take it that yes, in my true nature I am absolute, I am delightful, I am pure existence, I am all consciousness. Then after a while, this truth also which is embedded within us begins to unfold itself. You understand the difference? So I am kind of deconditioning and reprogramming myself, if you want to put it. Of course, I can reprogram myself in another way, that I just get rid of the deconditioning. I say, I don't know who I am, but I am seeking who am I. That's also a way. One can pick and choose one of the two ways. But this conditioning that we carry, that we must get rid of if we really want to discover the truth of our being. So one of the big challenges of education, classroom education, textbook education is that most of them are already carrying, without knowing, we are getting conditioned and influenced. When you read Freudian psychology, you begin to see things like that, whether they are or not. So it's important to decondition. So one way is by simply raising this question, who am I? And if you do it sincerely, you will see. For example, let's take a simple example. Very often we are identified with the body. That's why when something happens to the body, we say, oh, मुझे ऐसा हो गया. But it doesn't need much to understand that the body is always changing. Isn't it? When you see your childhood picture and you see a grown-up picture, what do you say instinctively? That's me. But this, you're not referring to the body. Isn't it? Are you referring to your thoughts when you see your childhood picture? No, because thoughts have changed. What is it that you are referring to when you say, that's me? This is a very instinctively intuitive sense. You don't even remember. 1 साल के बच्चे का क्या याद है आपको? कुछ नहीं याद है. But you still instinctively feel that's me. There is something which is like a continuity carrying you through different changing forms, different changing thoughts, patterns of feelings, everything, but it's like a continuity. Not even a memory, but something where you intuitively and instinctively know this is me. And if somebody were to ask you, how do you say that's you? So you'll be at loss. You will say, yeah, my parents have told me, ye meri photo hai. But there is everything which identifies with it. So this question one can raise, who am I? This is one way. Another, which is a more positive way, 2 ways people have found, or 3 ways, is to say to oneself, based on the experience of those who have gone before us. Indian psychology uses that method. That I trust, just as I put my trust in Freud, I put my trust in Alfred Adler, I put my trust in another. So I put my trust in those who have discovered that there is within me a soul. There is within me a divine. And I start connecting with that. Then after a while, this truth, which I didn't know till now, begins to unfold itself. And when it begins to unfold, how do I know that, I'm actually touching this truth? Then the signs and symptoms they describe that this will happen to you when this truth begins to unfold, begin to appear in your own life. For example, Arjuna asked this question in the Gita to Krishna. What are the signs of someone? It's a very wonderful scripture. If you have to read one book to know about human psychology threadbare in as much detail as possible, the Gita is the first book that, I would recommend. So he says, what are the signs by which we can know so and so knows himself, his consciousness is stabilized in the self? How would you know it? So Krishna has a very wonderful answer. He says there is no external marker. ये नहीं कि वो धोती पहनेगा, गेरुआ कपड़ा पहनेगा, टीका लगाएगा. None of the मंदिर जा रहा है. He is every day very religious man. None of these signs. So what are the signs? He says there are intrinsic signs. And one of the signs he gives is he stays in a state of equanimity. Now what is equanimity? If somebody praises you or blames you, you are not affected. We started with that. Why you are not affected? Because it's not you. Supposing somebody says your dress is not cool, okay, I may feel for a moment, but then I'll say it's his opinion. That's the end of the story. मुझे तो अच्छा लगता है ना? आप उसको लेके दिल में नहीं बैठा लोगे कि मेरी ड्रेस को ही बोला है ना. It's nothing much, no big deal, isn't it? So you discover, you say, okay, this is not me, because you are in a state of equanimity, because you know who you are. One of the signs that you know who you are is that you don't put on anything externally to show off. You don't have to put a nice little boot and a nice little coat tie, clothe your speech in very nice scholarly ways, because you know who you are. See Sri Ramakrishna Paramahans. You know how much he was educated? Probably he had not done his matriculation. But look at the mighty intellect of Vivekananda, who had graduated from Presidency College. He goes to him and says, I want jnana. Why? Because what he has achieved is something far greater. So it's not something which you get in the classroom or his textbook. How you get it? By trying to make it self-discovery inside. You may read about it. You may write very well. But if you have not made the discovery, then one day you are caught. How you are caught? Because you won't have that equanimity. Anybody will come and push you and you will be like, and we will be like, टॉसिंग ऑन द, यही हमारी ज़िंदगी है ना. इधर से किसी ने धक्का दिया, आप बहुत अच्छे हो, मेरा दिन बन गया, आप बड़े खराब हो. बट दैट्स लाइफ लाइक ए स्लेव. वी डोंट वांट टू बी स्लेव. वी वांट ऑटोनॉमी एंड फ्रीडम. आई वांट टू बी फ्री. So what is autonomy and freedom? When I am my own master. If I am not my own master, how can I be master of anything or anyone else? So the sign of this consciousness, one is equanimity. You become your own master. It's called the state of Swaraj or even Swami. Swami has nothing to do with the dress you wear or the name. You don't have to even prefix the word Swami. Swami, I know myself. I am my master. I can decide whether I'll think like this or I'll not think like this. If I feel this way or I feel that way. I choose my shots. That's freedom. That's autonomy. And this is one of the signs. Then another sign it says is that person is always in a state of peace, quietude, calm. Then third sign is there is a spontaneous inner knowledge which goes beyond the textbook. If you read, you see Swami Vivekananda, when he was asked to, his story when he went for the Chicago address. And he was initially, everybody, this fellow from India, पहले वो कहते थे, अब हम भी कहते हैं, हम Indians. क्यों ऐसे कहते पता नहीं. We have so much to be proud about. So people here, he was not getting a pass to entry because you have to be ratified by some people there who knew. So fortunately, it was divine dispensation that finally someone saw him, spoke to him, and then he said, my God, all our learned professors in the US do not know even a fraction of what you know. So he was given a chance to speak. What is subject? What is speaker? He never prepared through a slide show and 4 दिन में पढ़ूं इंडियन फिलॉसफी जाके मुझे बोलना है. कुछ नहीं. खड़े हो गया, बोलना शुरू किया, रुके नहीं. Starts with brothers and sisters, ends with a wide applause. Why? Because it's not the words, but the consciousness that he projected into the atmosphere. It was a consciousness of peace, harmony, beauty, light, and the audience was filled with it. They received it each in his own way. So, the third thing we discover is that it's not the action, but the state in which you do it. Gita is all about that. It's not the external action, but the state in which you are, that begins to. So our actions, our speech, our thoughts, they are nothing but packets, they are vehicles. They are vehicles of what? The state of consciousness. That's why you see when politicians say, we want harmony and peace, nobody takes them seriously. Have you noticed? यार बोल रहा है इसको वोट चाहिए. But when Vivekananda says, I am proud to come from a land where we are taught this fundamental basic that God dwells in all. Why people take him seriously? Because he's living that truth. So, when we live in this state, it has an impact upon our life. We must get rid of this idea that spirituality is a retired man's solution. Retired man's solution is only either pension or Messrs. Death and Company. Spirituality is not for that. Do you think equanimity, peace, spontaneous, intuitive knowledge, a state of inner harmony, spontaneously, without effort, do you think they are desirable in life or not desirable in life? Immensely desirable. And it has nothing to do with graduation or post graduation. It has to do with our life, my everyday life. Otherwise, I am just a toy. I don't like to be a toy. Just as quite naturally as youngsters, and I'm so glad. None of you like somebody else to dictate, no, things to you. Yeah, even I didn't like it. All rebels are marked out for spiritual life. Spiritual life is not about conformism. It's not about subscribing to a religious scripture or a dogma or doctrine. If you are still stuck to religious scriptures, you're not ready for spiritual life. Spiritual life is a fierce adventure. It's like a fire inside, and you want to search who you are with that fire. You're not satisfied with all that you have read in the books, not even the holiest and sacred of books. You're not satisfied just by going to the temple and doing a pranam and saying, God, I love you, worship you. Please give me some, Ganesh ji, aap laddu khana, thode hamare ghar mein hi bhej dena. You're not satisfied with that, you know. You want to discover the source of laddus inside. You're not happy ki he is the Divine Mother's child and I am praying. You want to discover who you are as the Divine Mother's child. When Shri Krishna says in the Gita, Mame Vansh, all of us are children of the Divine. You want to discover this as a reality. Now think about it just for one moment. Reflect on it. When you are going in everyday life, and normally you are free and we are all living our life in our own way. But when there is a distress, what do? You call someone. Isn't it? It's a natural instinct. We may call a friend or mostly parents, later on call a friend. Isn't it that we do? But we also know the limitations of parents. Though they will say कि अच्छा बेटा मैं करता हूँ कुछ लेकिन देखता हूँ. Imagine, no? But supposing you have discovered for a moment, you have discovered कि आप जगत जननी की संतान हो. You are the child of the Divine Mother, like Ramakrishna had discovered. Now, you are going in life, you are facing with a difficulty. So, what would your instinct will be? You will call the Divine Mother. And if she is a living reality for you, can you imagine what can happen? Every law of life can be suspended or changed. And I am not saying something just theoretically. Countless experience in my own life and many others, and obviously I am not here to share about them. You call and you get a response from what? That which has woven the stars. That power, that consciousness is within us. And we didn't know this. But we have to activate it. We have to live it. It must become our everyday life. Does it have an impact on our psychological counseling? I'll tell you one small story about a girl who was going through chronic depression for many years. Many years. And she had tried, she was on venlafaxine, the latest, and many other medication. So when she met me, I asked her, I was exploring, and she said, the only time I get a little peace is when I pray to Krishna. So that was my point of support. I said, okay, how do you connect to Krishna? He's a God, I pray to him few minutes. I said, can you make him your friend? So for a moment she was, friend. I said, yeah, Krishna is happy to be friend. He prefers to be a friend than to be a God. He doesn't like to be God. See all his actions, he loves to be a friend. So she never thought like that. She said, okay. Now, this is not only about Krishna. Anybody, you need not even name. But I am giving you an example. Okay. I'll make him my friend. I said, you walk with Krishna, talk to Krishna. Whenever you have any problem, just tell Krishna. You see the result. So after 1 year again, when I went to Delhi, she met me. She said, Sir, क्या आपने मुझे magic mantra दे दिया? बहुत खुश हूँ मैं. And this is not something you'll get in the textbook. Today, she was a witness, one girl who's from very broken home situation, father is an alcoholic, and mother is trying to manage the ends, and goes into that state. So I said, see, parents or physical parents are like representatives, they are delegates. जैसे मैनेजर होता है ना, आप कहीं पर जाते हो कोई कंपनी में और मालिक को जानते हो, मालिक ने एक मैनेजर को आपके साथ लगा दिया, इसको जरा दिखा देना. बट अगर आप मालिक को जानते हो, देन एनी इशू यू इमीडिएटली से, अंकल मैं यहाँ पर हूँ, ओके बेटे डोंट वरी आई एम कमिंग, है ना. दैट्स द एक्सपीरियंस. यू कांट से लाइक दैट टू अ मैनेजर. So when you discover that divine is your parent, so I told her, I said, you know what? What if you start looking at it like this, that actually divine is our parent? And I gave her a very practical way of looking at it, that look, this, of course, we may say there is a belief system, and I'm not going into whether rebirth exists or doesn't exist. But I'm saying that even in this life, are parents just a physical reality, or are they archetypes, or are they a psychological state? Tell me that. They're all at once. Anybody who nurtures and nourishes us becomes like a parent. We know it, no? Sometimes it can be a friend who comes like a parent. So parent is not just the physical parent, though physical parents embody it maximum. But parent is also a state. And where does this state come from? From an original archetype. I think all of you understand archetypes, so I'm not elaborating on that. So original archetype of parent is divine as father, divine as mother. Now why do we go through all these representative images? Why not straight away? From where the archetype has emerged, which we call as the source. Why play with the shadows when you have contact with the source? And when you see as divine are my parents. And when you start living this reality, I can understand that if this is not yet a reality, बंदे सर क्या बोल रहे हो आप? ये ज़्यादा ही हो गया कुछ. But just as when you make Krishna your friend, you discover a different truth. Similarly, when you make divine your parents, and then you discover what a profound psychological formula is given when it is said. Do you remember which Sanskrit I'm going to say? There are 2-3 of them. One is Tameva Mata Chapita. Heard of it? Tameva Mata Chapita Tameva Tameva Bandhush Chasaka Tameva द्रविणंग तमेव तमेव सर्वम मम देवदे. हम सब ने सुना हुआ है. ये एक बहुत बड़ा फॉर्मूला है भाई. फॉर्मूला नहीं है, ये ट्रूथ पर बेस्ड है. somebody has experienced it, so he has given you this. Somebody experienced na tato, na bhrata, na bandhu, na mitro. Same Shankaracharya who said, Shivam also wrote a hymn called Bhavani Astikam. Have you heard of Bhavani Astikam? Where he says, na tato, na bandhu, मेरा कोई नहीं है. फिर कौन है? त्वमेकम त्वमेकम त्वमेका भवानी. But you are mine, Divine Mother. Now, he is not hallucinating. He is writing a profound truth which he discovered. We should look upon these things not as some scriptural text to be read and forgotten, or यार ये सब sacred है, यार मम्बो जम्बो है, ये तो पता नहीं क्या लिखा है. फिर तो हम आधे अधूरे जीवन लीड करेंगे. You know what yoga means? Yoga means to unite. By union means we are leading half a life, fragmented life. We can reclaim our oneness, first within ourselves, then with creation, and then with the highest possibility which we call as divine. So he discovered a truth and he gave it. It's up to us. If we try to walk that path, we will also discover that yes, indeed, it's true. And then you discover the inner sense when it is said the Divine Mother Bhavani has 1,000 arms. What does it mean, 1,000 arms? Is it some hallucinating image? Or it's a very clear representation that the Divine Mother can come to us in a million ways. Maybe through my physical mother, maybe through my next door neighbor, maybe through the doctor. Isn't it? So many ways. Sometimes even through my enemy. Can the Divine come as an enemy? See, we use the word enemy. Those who put us in difficulty, do they also do a good to us? Let me ask this question. Huh? Yes, I can see some heads nodding. So why do we call them enemies? See the difference? Once you have this attitude, this state of consciousness, then you will say, Mother Divine, you came to me as Gauri. Mother Divine, you has come to me as Kali. As Gauri, you were giving me payasam to drink. As Kali, you are drinking my blood, which was impure, and slaying my ego. Thank you, Mother, in both cases. Many times, when we face difficulties and challenges, we grow immensely because it's a challenge to our inmost being to grow in strength. Then you begin to see the whole world and its play very differently. And when this becomes your normal state, sometimes you will experience it in touches, but when it becomes your normal state, then will you ever be unhappy? Or will you ever cry and fret and complain? Kyun hua ji? Koi bolega karmo ka? You won't say all this. Forget karma and forget all this punishment, reward. Because you will see Tameka, 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 Bhavani. So these are some of the, I have just touched upon some of the I have touched just the fraction, not even the fraction. I have, not even probably stepped into the vast ocean of Indian psychology, spirituality, thought, call it anything, doesn't matter. Even calling it spirituality becomes a problem because you make a division. This is spiritual, this is material, this is my life. No. The vastness of Indian discovery. They discovered, they gave it to us. One last one, which is so practical things. Isha Upanishad, सुना है? Okay. कोई उसमें से एक श्लोक याद है? Okay, I'll tell you, fraction of a श्लोक. First श्लोक. ईशा वास्यम इदम सर्वम यत्किंच जगत्याम जगत तेन त्यक्तेन भुंजिता मागृध कस्य स्विद्धनम. ईशा वास्यम idam sarvam. Simple to understand. All here is a habitation of the Lord. Divine dwells in all things. Isha Vashyam idam sarvam. Yat kincha jagatyam jagat. All that is moving individually and universally. Look the profound insight. Atomic level and the galaxy level, thought level, feeling level, there is a constant churning going on. Within every movement, there is the presence of the Lord. Divine. Isha, one who is the Lord of nature. And then it says, Tena Taktena Bhunjita, meaning thereby, by renouncing, thou must enjoy. मालूम था स्पिरिचुअलिटी एंजॉयमेंट की बात करती है, सिखाती है हमें कैसे मस्त हो जाना, टू बिकम सो मच फुल ऑफ डिलाइट. बाय रिनाउंसिंग, हाउ कैन यू एंजॉय बाय रिनाउंसिंग? मागृध कस्य स्विद्धनम. व्हाई डू यू वांट टू acquire somebody else's ambition, lust, usko hai, jealousies? Why do we need? Ultimately for what? When you can tap that delight inside. Now can anyone tell me how by renouncing you can have delight? With that we can have. There are many such things in Isha Upanishad. And I am resisting the temptation because hours and hours I could go. Just tell me how by renouncing you can have delight. We have heard about renunciation as a means towards क्या बैरागी हो गए, सन्यासी हो गए, है ना? It's not about vairagi or sannyas. Renunciation is a tremendous power that opens you to delight. Anyone, just make a blind guess. It sounds very paradoxical, isn't it? मजा तो पाने में आता है, छोड़ने में कैसा मजा है? पर कभी अनुभव किया है छोड़ने का मजा? देखो, when we are wanting something, intensely craving for something, then what happens? That object becomes our center. Okay? And what happens when that object becomes a center? We become small, small, small. If it is food or a human being, doesn't matter. It becomes small. And when you just release it, you discover you were not so small, you are vast. You don't have to be so small. Now, if you discover this one truth, you can apply it on life. So when you go through rejection, so-called rejection, हुआ होगा ना किसी किसी के लाइफ में, बाय नाउ यू श्योरली, या तो आपने किसी को छोड़ा होगा या किसी ने आपको छोड़ा, एक्सपीरियंस किया होगा ना ऐसे. तो जब आप ये ट्रुथ को जियोगे तो आप दूसरे ढंग से सोचोगे, मैं इतनी छोटी तो नहीं हूं कि ये मुझे रिजेक्ट कर सके. आई एम वास्ट. डोंट मेक योरसेल्फ सो स्मॉल दैट यू डिफाइन योरसेल्फ बाय ए पर्सन. What happens during that moment? I have defined myself by that person. I am bad, I am horrible. People go through this experience, no? मैं अच्छी नहीं हूँ, मेरे अंदर क्या खराबी है, चलो मैं अपना आईब्रो कराऊँ, मेकअप कराऊँ. Nothing, you don't need anything. Just discover yourself and say, well, you don't deserve me. You can say that. Of course, that's an egoistic statement. But I'm just saying, you discover that you are vast, you are infinite, you are divine. You are a child of the divine. He was seeing your physical parentage. He was seeing your jati, pati, religion, this, that, poor fellow. Idiot. He didn't see that whom you belong to. When you live this truth, can you imagine? And then vastness is equivalent to delight, and smallness is equivalent to pleasure and pain. See the difference? Pleasure and pain comes with smallness. And when you're vast, it brings delight. So, tena tyaktena bhunjita. You want to enjoy life? Okay. Learn to renounce the lesser and then you get the greater. If you don't leave the lower rung, how will you arrive at the higher? Simple logic. So we can identify either with a very small state of consciousness. Oh, I am a loser. Small state of consciousness. I am a winner. Slightly better, but still small state of consciousness. I am neither a winner nor a loser. All actually belongs anyways to me. And isn't this the secret truth of life? आप किसी घर में जाते हो, वो कहते हैं दाने दाने पर लिखा है खाने वाले का नाम. उस समय आपको जो मिलता है वो आपका है ना. ये सीक्रेट ट्रुथ है जो नेचर हाइड करके रखती है. वी थिंक दिस बिलोंग्स टू मी, वी वांट टू होल्ड इट विद ग्रेट ग्रिप, बट यू डिस्कवर दैट इट डजंट बिलोंग टू यू. टेक लव. कैन यू फोर्स समबडी टू लव यू? यू कैन नॉट. बट डजंट लव कम टू अस इन काउंटलेस वेज? सो व्हेन यू बिकम वास्ट, यू डिस्कवर कि लव के लिए किसी कोई इससे मिले उससे मिले अच्छी बात है, बट इट्स सो वास्ट. इट कम्स फ्रॉम द होल क्रिएशन. होल क्रिएशन लव्स अस, स्पीक्स टू अस, गिव्स अस जॉय. एंड देन ए सिंपल साइट लुकिंग एट ए फ्लावर कैन गिव यू जॉय. यू नो दिस एक्सपीरियंस, आई वाज सो टच्ड. क्या हुआ जब दरवाजा खुला? क्यों भाग गए आप लोग? साइकोलॉजी क्लास तो पूरी वहीं खत्म हो गई. ये ट्रुथ है हमारे इनर बीइंग का. Why is it that the opening of the door, जैसे फ्रॉइड used to analyze slips, so I'm analyzing this. ये क्या हुआ? डोर खुला, समुद्र देखा. Many of you actually say, wow, ऐसा क्यों हुआ? Analyze करो. For a moment physically, this gave us the sense of vastness. If you can cultivate it by conscious means, then you won't need a physical means to do this. Intermediary, you can imagine this imagery of ocean. It helps. There are images that help us. There are techniques like that. But essentially, the truth is, if you experience vastness, you experience freedom, you experience delight. You experience small state of consciousness through a small self-identity, then you are in misery and there is suffering and pain. So that's my background. Just resisting to go further. So if there is any question or any remarks, please feel free. Yes, of course. But thing is that there are two ways of looking at it. It's possible to enter into that vastness and be so lost and wrapped into it that you feel everything else is insignificant. That's true. But when you touch the thread inside, then you discover that there is nothing insignificant because it's the same truth in everything. That's why the Isha Upanishad starts with that. Isha vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. In your consciousness, you are beyond the galaxies. But you also know that the Isha dwells even in the minutest of atoms. So then what happens? You experience an all-pervading love for all creatures. So you have this wonderful another line, Isha Sarva Bhutanam. Another line in the Gita, Maitri Karuna Ivascha. He who knows the Lord, loves the Lord, starts feeling love and compassion for everyone. You don't have to say this. Because he sees he is my Lord in another garment. You don't have to teach him that, you should treat people, behave in a nice way. He says, what nice way? He's my Lord who is coming. This old man, this sick man, even my enemy, you can see the Lord. So nothing becomes insignificant. Each becomes a facet, an expression, an effort at manifestation, sometimes a good, sometimes not so good, sometimes flawless manifestation, sometimes an in the making manifestation of the one. So, just as India gave, we are told the power of zero, India also gave the power of one. So, if you learn to see this one behind everything, even in the Ishopanishad, there is a meditation like that. It says how to become free from all grief. Because one of the things in psychology is how to become free from grief. So it says, Tatra ko moha ka shoka ekatvam anupashyata. He who sees oneness, how shall he have delusion, moha? How shall he have grief, shoka? He cannot have, because he sees the one everywhere. But of course, there is a big gap between reading it and realizing it. That's what is the practice of yoga. But if we start with this, it's possible, then only you will walk the path. Otherwise, if it's not possible, it's all mumbo jumbo, iska psychology se kya lena, ye spirituality, ye to ashram mein बूढ़े लोग करते हैं, है ना? तो फिर आपने, it's unscientific, no? Because you have annulled the thing even before you started. Whereas true science is discover, go ahead and discover. Indian yoga is the only thing which throws these challenges at you. It doesn't ask you to adopt it as a belief system. It's something amazing. I have not found it anywhere in any of the works. It doesn't ask you to adopt it as a belief system. It says, this is what we have discovered. You walk this way. Go ahead, discover yourself. That's the difference between all the yogas that have grown up in India and all the other approaches to the divine which have come outside. In India, we believe that we can discover the divine within ourselves. Go ahead and discover. So it's not a religion. Religion is belief system. You believe, you follow, or you don't follow. One of the two. Here you discover, and you can have multiple approaches to discover. इसमें भी कोई dogma नहीं है. But the thing is, start that there is a possibility like that, then only you can discover. If in the beginning we say कि नहीं ऐसा possible ही नहीं है, ये तो कुछ लोग गफलत में पता नहीं चरस गांजा लेके बोलते रहते हैं, तो फिर क्या होगा? तो आपने एनल कर दिया ना. It's not science. Science itself has become a belief system, a dogma. Yes? I don't know, आप लोग यहाँ आए हो, normally scientific communities, आश्रम जा रहे हो क्यों? साइकोलॉजी पढ़ने. वाह, आईब्रोज भ्रकुटी तन जाती है. आश्रम में साइकोलॉजी तो इन किताबों में पढ़ाई जाती है, इस क्लासरूम के अंदर. ये क्या है? ऐसी रिलीजन में बोलते हैं ना, इस किताब के अंदर है केवल ट्रूथ, इस मंदिर में मस्जिद में जाके मिलेगा. ये क्या है? रिलीजन है ना. शुड साइकोलॉजी बिकम ए रिलीजन एंड ए कल्ट? दैट्स इट. It's a discovery, it's a search, it's a fire, it's a living journey. Yes, anything else? Any other question? Okay. I hope all of you are happy. Have a good stay here. Lovely and pleasant stay. If anything, please feel free. Of course, I'm sure you have very able Professor Suneet Verma is there, and just move around, breathe this atmosphere. And it's not about believing in Mother and Sri Aurobindo or getting converted. For God's sake, this is not what Mother and Sri Aurobindo want. They have discovered their truths, they have given this truth, like any other rishi and yogis. So they have made their own discoveries and given their truth. You don't have to accept anything like a dogma. If you feel interested, you can read something कि अच्छा ये क्या कह रहे हैं. काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें ये जो वेदांत जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं ये है, बट उन्होंने और भी कई चीज़ें कही हैं, लाइक गोल ऑफ लाइफ एंड अबाउट पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ लीडिंग ए डिवाइन लाइफ हियर इन दिस terrestrial existence, not an otherworldliness, but very much here, not just in some meditative state. So it's possible to lead a divine existence in your everyday life. You don't have to leave anything or anybody and run away externally. You don't have to escape from life. Okay? That's why in ashram, he didn't tell you, otherwise you would have been shocked कि मैं आश्रमाइट हूँ. कहते सर कैसे आश्रमाइट हो जो आपने कलरफुल टी शर्ट पहनी हुई है ना. तो ये वैसा वाला योग नहीं है भागने वाला. ये तो जब अंदर आप एक रंग में रंग जाते हो ना, तो ये बाहर के रंग सब रंगों से खेल सकते हो, क्योंकि आप डिस्कवर करते हो पेरेंट तो वही ओरिजिनल कलर है. ऑलराइट, सो दैट्स ओके. थैंक यू. नाइस talking to all of you.